Hey folks, Sean Malin of CineMalin Film Commentary and Criticism here. It's been a few weeks, but I've been getting a lot of requests about a particular movie that's come out over the last 2 weeks. Mother, Darren Aronofsky's Mother, with a lowercase m and an exclamation mark at the end, starring Jennifer Lawrence as the titular character and Javier Bardem as her partner, Michelle Pfeiffer and Ed Harris as two unwanted visitors in their home, in the middle of an outdoor wilderness, a kind of a Shangri-La house. Now, I hate to proceed to talk about Mother without giving you a few warnings. First of all, in this review, which will be posted both on our video blog page, We Just Got Better, as well as the CM Film Commentary website, www.cmfilmcommentary.com. This review is going to be spoiler-filled. I don't know that spoiler is the accurate term, but I will have to describe the plot. And in doing so, I'll be describing the machinations of Darren Aronofsky's genius, which will ruin the movie for you. So if you haven't seen the film, this is not a good review for you. This is more of a kind of afterthoughts brainstorming session. It's more appropriate for someone who has seen the film rather than someone who is going to see the film. Though, if you don't mind spoilers like me, then I think that you will appreciate the review, or at least I hope you do. Anyway, Mother is Darren Aronofsky's newest feature as a writer-director. It's been a few years since his last film, Noah, the one Darren Aronofsky film of his that I have not seen, but I'm a gigantic fan of Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, his first feature, Pi, and of course, The Fountain, possibly his magnum opus on the meaning of life and geospatial interpretations of time and reincarnation. Now, Mother takes those themes and kind of writs them large into a larger allegory about the world versus God. Basically, Javier Bardem is the incarnation of God in the kind of Judeo-Christian sense. And he has created in his image a woman of his sexualization, I suppose we would say, but more of his appreciation, played by Jennifer Lawrence as the incarnation of Mother Earth, hence the mother of the title. Mother Earth is besieged by people invading her home and destroying her life, culminating in ultimately a sort of degraded fire which destroys Mother Earth and ignites a kind of apocryphal rapture which results in the birth of another mother. Now, again, I mentioned that this was filled with spoilers, but if what I just said makes absolutely no sense to you, if it seems like somewhere in between allegory and an actual plot, that's because Mother, in Aronofsky's script, doesn't really adhere to a strict narrative chronology. Here is the narrative chronology if you're looking for it in the way that it plays out in the film Mother. Essentially, Jennifer Lawrence wakes up. Well, rather, first we see Javier Bardem caressing a sort of golden, a sort of translucent diamond. It seems to be made of coal or glass. We're not really sure. Turns out that this is the heart of all of the Mother Earths that he has destroyed over the past. And when I say that he has destroyed them, I mean that the creatures of his creation have destroyed them, specifically human beings. In this case, the first invaders to the Mother Earth's sanctum, played by Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer as a sort of old, sexy Adam and Eve. Their Cain and Abel are played by Brian and Domhnall Gleeson, the sons of Brendan Gleeson with an E, and two brothers and successful actors in their own rights. I recently talked about Logan Lucky and how fantastic Brian Gleeson was as Daniel Craig's brother in that film. But Domhnall Gleeson here plays the metaphorical Cain to Brian's Abel. And in so doing, they writ large this kind of destructive force within the house. So begins the degrading of the house which Jennifer Lawrence's mother, who goes unnamed throughout the entire film, has built. We see, in true Aronofsky fashion, the house begins to rot in strange ways. She hears voices whispering to her from the basement. Oil spills are indications of what we would think of maybe as the menstrual cycle or the lunar cycle or whatever other sort of feminized mythological fluid release comes out of women in the Judeo-Christian tradition. This happens to Jennifer Lawrence herself and also to Jennifer Lawrence's house. For example, a sink is broken when more invaders who are obsessed with Javier Bardem's character in the film, a poet who describes himself as the creator and the person who they have come to see, they being the human beings written in his image. When people come to their house and destroy the sink explodes, shooting water all over everybody, not just Jennifer Lawrence, but all over the guests who ransack the house, steal things, and ultimately wind up, though I can't really explain how we get there, eating Jennifer Lawrence's baby in front of her, munching on his little flesh and kind of treating him like the Christ child and both revering him and destroying him at the same time. The allegory is not necessarily a one-to-one. Don't be reading the Bible and, reading Genesis and expecting that it's going to line up with Aronofsky's concept for Mother. This is a drama and a thriller, and unfortunately it has been mismarketed that way by Paramount Pictures. I understand it's a $30 million film. You want to recoup your investment. And certainly I think that Aronofsky has proved to be a sort of commercially fickle director. The Wrestler was successful because he made it for so little money, and yet it was an awards darling, but it was not necessarily a commercial darling in the way that Noah was intended to be. Noah, as we know, was a sort of a flop on the domestic scene, but went on to be an international success and is probably Aronofsky's most derided film. Now, Mother is being described as his most divisive film, but that's not exactly accurate. It's not divisive once you see it in that the film is incredibly accomplished. What's happened here is that Aronofsky and Paramount have severely mismarketed the film to be less allegory and more a direct sort of ripoff of Rosemary's Baby or Knife in the Water or The Exterminating Angel, Louis Spoonwell's film, which Aronofsky showed to Jennifer Lawrence to prepare her for the role as Mother Earth. As Mother Earth, Jennifer Lawrence is an almost perfect cast in that she has the long, golden flowing locks and the kind of regalness, the stature, the grace that is required to kind of be an almost Renaissance-style incarnation of Mother Earth, an almost, shall we say, like ancient Greek depiction. And Lawrence holds the role with aplomb. She is a Pfeiffer by nature in that she is not supposed to be so much active as reactive. It's the ultimate reactive character in that everything that happens in the film that hurts or damages or destroys the character happens to Jennifer Lawrence, the actor. She had to endure enormous rehearsals, stunt processes in Brooklyn. She had to figure out how to work with Matthew Libatique, Aronofsky's Oscar-winning cinematographer, who did such amazing work on his film Black Swan. I guess I forgot to mention that earlier, but Black Swan, of course, is one of his most successful and acclaimed films, winning Natalie Portman the Academy Award. I don't really see Academy Awards in the future of this film necessarily. It's a little bit too shocking. Perhaps for the screenplay, which is absolutely brilliant, but not for Lawrence and not necessarily for Bardem either. Bardem's character is just called Him with a capital H. Capital H Him, lowercase Mother, you get the message. Bardem has been described in a review by A.O. Scott of the New York Times as resembling an El Greco character, and how accurate is that? He has the stentorian face of the Easter Island statues. I mean, we're talking about the voice, the accent, and the face of a person who is almost preternaturally Achillean. And as him, Javier Bardem is intimidating, but he's not scary. He's just sort of enigmatic and mysterious. A Pfeiffer as well. He's powerful in the role, but this is not Oscar caliber performances in that it's not what the Academy rewards. They don't reward enigmas and shadow dwellers and ambiguity. What they really prefer are roles where someone blows snot out of their nose while they're crying or impersonates a real life character. They want Stephen Hawking. They don't want someone impersonating God or Mother Earth and doing their very best impression of what that might be if writ into a human character. Aronofsky knows that, and this is a film that unfortunately has failed the CinemaScore test with an F and is likely to be commercially successful only as what's been called a cult film, but which I would more describe as a niche or art house film where people revere the auteur that Aronofsky is. It's certainly an impressive film visually. Libatique's cinematography is absolutely sensational. The two supporting performances that are my favorites include Stephen McHattie as a follower of the poet, Michelle Pfeiffer as the sort of catty Eve to the more innocent and bloodletting Adam, played by Ed Harris, and Domhnall Gleeson is also fantastic as the metaphorical Cain. But besides Libatique's cinematography and the production and stunt design and makeup that is pretty sensational throughout the film, we have poor special effects that render fires and grass and the house itself sort of strangely esoteric, enigmatic, and ephemeral. We don't ever feel like we're in a real house. We certainly don't feel like this is the real world, not from the beginning and not until the very end. It's hard to stay grounded and it's hard not to get bumped by the film, and that is why people are finding it divisive or splitting. Because this is not a film for entertainment. It's not a film for engagement. It's a film for getting lost in and not thinking. And unfortunately, it comes over you like a tsunami, or shall we say, like a wildfire. Whether you see and like Aronofsky's film, or whether you just deride it as, a kind of overblown, metaphorical, Judeo-Christian insult, I hope you do like this review and share it. And let me know if you have seen Mother, what you think in relation to the actual film. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.